Let me start with a little anecdote. My doctor has been urging me to see you, the patient said to the psychiatrist. Heaven knows why. I've got a happy family, job security, lots of friends, and no worries at all. The psychiatrist replied, flipping through his notebook. How long have you been like this? Happiness, it seems, is almost unbelievable. It's as though people are incapable of being truly happy. If you speak of your worries, your despair, or your suffering, everyone nods in agreement. It seems natural, normal. But the moment you declare your happiness, no one believes you. Happiness to them appears unnatural. Sigmund Freud, after 40 years of delving into the human psyche, working with thousands of minds in turmoil, concluded that happiness is a mirage. Human beings, he said, are simply incapable of it. At best, we might make life a little more comfortable, shave a sliver off our suffering, but happiness, that's beyond us. This perspective may strike you as bleak, utterly pessimistic. Yet if you look at humanity, doesn't it seem accurate? Doesn't it feel like an undeniable fact? Only humans, it seems, are capable of such profound unhappiness. Somewhere deep inside, something has gone astray. But I tell you this from my own experience. Human beings can be happy, ecstatically so. Happier than birds, happier than trees, happier even than the stars. For humans possess something that none of these others have: consciousness. And with consciousness comes an extraordinary freedom. You can be supremely happy or supremely miserable, and the choice, frighteningly, is yours. This freedom is perilous. It places the weight of responsibility squarely on your shoulders. Trees, you see, are happy simply because they cannot be otherwise. Their happiness is not a choice. It's unconscious, automatic, a natural state of being. Birds sing and revel in existence, not because they choose to, but because they know no other way. But humans, humans, you stand at a crossroads with every moment endowed with the power to choose. And therein lies the rub. Something about this freedom has turned us upside down. We are often lost chasing things that do not bring joy. Meditation, prayer, religion, these are remedies that humans seek out only because they've chosen, consciously or unconsciously, not to be happy. If you chose happiness instead, meditation would arise naturally, without effort. Religion, unnecessary. A truly happy person doesn't need temples or churches, for the entire universe becomes their sanctuary. Every breath, every step, a celebration. Why then are so many unhappy? Because we've allowed ourselves to be distracted by money, power, fame, by the constant chatter of the world around us. We've forgotten how to listen to the birds, how to watch the butterflies, how to delight in the simple miracle of existence. Happiness requires courage, the courage to follow what truly brings you joy, no matter the cost. It's not about wealth or status, it's about the richness of your inner being. Yet we cling to our suffering as though it were a treasure. Why? Because it's familiar. Because we fear letting go. We speak of our woes with pride, embellishing them, finding comfort in the telling. But to hold on to this misery is to miss the point entirely. Happiness comes first, my friends, not as the result of meditation or prayer, but as the foundation. Begin with happiness, and all else will follow. Meditation, beauty, even a sense of the divine. They arise naturally when you are aligned with the rhythm of life. So ask yourself, are you living in harmony with your nature, or have you been led astray? Are you pursuing a life dictated by the expectations of others, or are you heeding the call of your own soul? Life is knocking at your door, but are you there to answer it? Or are you hiding behind a mask, lost in someone else's dream? To truly live, you must shed the imposed patterns of society and rediscover your own unencumbered essence. Only then will you find happiness, and with it, a profound and effortless meditation that permeates your entire being. What is happiness? Happiness has nothing to do with success. It has nothing to do with ambition, wealth, power, or fame. Happiness is something connected to your consciousness, not your personality. It is entirely up to you. It depends on you, on whether you are conscious or unconscious, awake or asleep. Murphy's famous adage comes to mind. There are two kinds of people: those who divide humanity into two types, and those who don't. I belong to the former. Humanity can indeed be divided into two types, the asleep and the awake, and naturally, a small group hovering somewhere in between. Happiness, you see, depends on where you stand in this spectrum of consciousness. If you are asleep, then pleasure is what you call happiness. Pleasure is a bodily sensation, an attempt to grasp something through the body that the body cannot truly provide. People pursue happiness through the body in countless ways, only to find it fleeting. The body offers you only momentary pleasure, and every moment of pleasure is balanced by an equal measure of pain. This is the duality of the body. It exists in a world of opposites. Just as day is followed by night and life by death, so is pleasure followed by pain. And so it goes, endlessly. When you are in the midst of pleasure, there is always the fear that it might slip away, poisoning the experience. When pain arrives, you do everything in your power to escape it, only to find yourself back in its grasp once again. The Buddha called this the wheel of life and death. We cling to this wheel, endlessly turning. Sometimes it brings pleasure, sometimes pain, but always we are crushed between these two stones. For those who are asleep, the world revolves around bodily sensations, food, sex. These become their poles of existence. Suppress one and the energy shifts to the other. Suppress both and it accumulates as tension, only to seek release elsewhere. What we often call happiness is merely the relief of tension, nothing more. The pursuit of pleasure is shallow, without depth or dimension. It is a temporary escape, not true happiness. And yet there are those who dwell in a liminal state, not quite asleep, not fully awake. You've likely experienced this yourself in the early morning when the house begins to stir. You hear the faint clatter of someone making tea, the kettle whistling, children getting ready for school. The sounds reach you as though from a distant dream. You are neither awake nor asleep, but in between. This same state arises when you begin to meditate. The fully asleep dream, the meditator begins to awaken. For them, happiness takes on a different meaning. It becomes less about quantity and more about quality, less physical and more psychological. The meditator finds joy in music, in poetry, in creation, and in the beauty of nature. They savor silence. Even when the music stops, something of it lingers within them. This joy is not mere relief, but enrichment. It fills you up. It overflows. While listening to beautiful music, harmony arises within you, and for a moment, you become the music. Dancing, you forget your body entirely. You feel weightless. The pull of gravity vanishes, the ego dissolves, and the dancer merges with the dance. This is bliss. This is true happiness. Bliss is something far deeper, far richer than the fleeting pleasures of the body. Bliss arises when you awaken fully, when you become a Buddha, when all dreams and darkness within you dissolve into light. In this state, there is no past, no future, only the present. This moment becomes everything. Now is the only time. Here is the only space. And in that profound nowness, the vastness of the entire sky falls into you. Bliss is your birthright, but to find it, you must rise above mere pleasure. Pleasure is animalistic. Happiness is human. Bliss is divine. Pleasure binds you. It is a shackle. Happiness grants a bit of freedom, but it is still limited. Bliss is absolute freedom. It gives you wings, lifting you from the earth into the open sky. You become light, joyous, free. Pleasure depends on others. Happiness relies less on others, but still comes from outside. Bliss, however, is neither dependent nor separate. It is your very essence, your natural state of being. Seek this bliss. It is not something you achieve, but something you awaken to. It has always been within you, waiting to unfold.